Raw after Mania opened up with the last real champion, John Cena, who cut a promo berating the WWE Universe for being hypocrites. And also he showed how many dates he has left before he retires, which I thought was a really nice touch.
When that hits 0, the professional wrestling timeline stops.
I wasn't really a huge fan of John Cena's entrance graphics being so stripped back initially. This entrance right here on the Raw after Mania really sold it for me. I really like him. It says, take out your cameras, remember this moment. And then he gets caught with an RKO out of nowhere. Randy holding up the WWE title, so seemingly it's about to be reverse 2009. This time with Randy Orton as the babyface and John Cena as the heel. But this is going to be great. One last time, Cena versus Orton with a fresh dynamic. I can't wait. I just really hope that they have most of it planned out, given that there's limited dates. I don't want Cena Orton to take up any more than like 5 of those limited dates, I'll be so honest. I still want to see him mix it up with some NXT talent. You've got Gunther, CM Punk, etc. I would love to see Ilya versus Cena because holy shit. But next on the Raw after Mania, we had the women's tag titles on the line again in a Wrestlemania rematch as Liv and Raquel took on Lyra and Becky, which saw Liv and Raquel win the titles back and Becky Lynch turn heel on Lyra Valkyria after the match, which was awesome.
Becky Lynch was Lyra Valkyria's mentor.
Also, we had word that Tatum and Gigi will be taking on the winner of this match because they're the #1 contenders, so they were in the crowd.
I'm gonna fight all these urges, my brother.
But this women's tag title match was fire. These women really went out there and put on a show. And also, there was a really sweet near fall towards the end from a powerbomb off the top rope that led to a "This is awesome" chant.
Trouble, my God, almost put her through the mat. This is awesome. Yes, it is. Our sellout.
But Becky was getting booed a little bit in this match until afterwards when...
And another one! No more times.
Beating the living daylights out of Lyra Valkyria, seemingly setting up a bit of a mentor versus protege feud, and it's gonna slap. And I'm really interested to see where they go with Becky Lynch as a heel this time around, because last time obviously it was big time Bex and that was a character in of its own, but this time, what is her motivation? Where is she gonna lead this time? Is she going to change her theme song? Who knows? What is also interesting is how fickle the crowd is. You were booing, but as soon as Becky Bad Guy comes out, now we're Becky guys all of a sudden again, huh? You're all a toxic We saw the new tag team champions, The New Day, come out and cut a promo as the Alpha Academy interrupt. Dupree seemingly sets up a tag match for Otis and Tozawa before... That one was good.
He's back! Rusev!
Rusev Day. As he goes ahead and locks in the accolade and just dismantles the Alpha Academy. Rusev Fudria, Rusev Machka, Rusev Kra.
And another one! The accolade is back! The submission move!
And I said it a couple days ago, but I would love if this return of Rusev was leaning more into the God promos and the God side of his character from AEW when he was Miro. Because I honestly think that was the strongest, some of the strongest promos that were on TV at that time, but also that was like the strongest character of his career. Like Rusev was cool, but Miro was cinematic. I want him as a big meaty man to slap meat with everyone, especially Bronson Reed when he's back, Ilya Dragunov, Gunther. Oh, it's gonna be fun. I can't wait to see him slapping meat with everybody. Oh my God, Bronson Reed already put out a tweet saying, interesting. Huh. We then cut to a segment with some tension in the air in the Judgment Day clubhouse. Dirty Dom, Liv and Raquel celebrate with their gold as Finn comes in, and after some tension, he says,
what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. We're good, nay. My reaction to this entire segment is, the demon's gonna kill you. I also just have to say, Carlito appreciation moment, because that man is hilarious.
We don't have titles, but it feels like we have titles, right?
Next, we saw Io Sky come out cutting a wholesome promo about how she's still women's world champion, and the crowd says, you deserve it.
The women's world champion!
Io Sky is such a bundle of joy and good vibes. Like, how can you not love her? But where this segment gets real insane is when Io is interrupted by the NXT Women's Champion, Stephanie Vaquer.
And the NXT Women's Champion!
La Primera on Monday Night Raw, and eventually leads to a match between Vaquer and Io, which was amazing. That was until it was interrupted and caused a disqualification by Roxanne Perez and Giulia. Of course, Roxanne has an NXT Women's title match coming up.
And Giulia's here! The former NXT Women's Champion!
Giulia and Roxanne laid out Io and Stephanie until... And I have to go ahead and say, what an insanely stacked segment. And when the day comes that we get a full-blown Io Sky and Stephanie Vaquer feud, there was a spot in this match into a pinfall that was one of the most fluid movements I've ever seen in a wrestling match.
Vaquer got caught by oh no! Wow, what a move by Stephanie! Cover!
Either way, women's wrestling is in a wonderful spot right now for the most part across both main companies for me. The mid-card titles still should have been defended at WrestleMania, but also we're about to get a generational Becky and Lyra feud, so it's okay. And Chelsea Green is far too talented to be left off WrestleMania, let alone any pay-per-view, period.
Pat Rhea made it pretty clear right there. If you can read lips, something to the effect of, I'm coming for that.
By the way, you can get 15% off Fire Wrestling merch on Blacksmith Apparel with the discount code DDJ50. They have a ton of unique wrestling merch from the likes of Will Ospreay and Kurt Angle. From jackets to jerseys, t-shirts, and more, use DDJ15 for 15% off today. Next, we had Pat saying the attendance record and just celebrating the WrestleMania numbers.
And there will be stories told about the happenings of those 2 days forever.
We then see the new world champion main event Jey Uso yeeting and celebrating like only he can. He yeets and he yeets until we see a returning Sami Zayn. It's actually an incredibly wholesome segment with Sami saying he's sorry that he wasn't here for the last 8 weeks while Jey was fighting Gunther. There's an ever so slight pause where Jey is yeeting in the corner and it seems like Sami is about to turn on him and the whole crowd is kind of like, ooh, but then he just hugs him.
What a moment.
I'm watching you, Sami Zayn. That wasn't incredibly oozy of you. But then they're joined by Jimmy Uso, and the whole time they're celebrating and walking up the ramp, I'm thinking, oh, there's about to be a Kevin Owens turning on Sami in NXT kind of situation, but it never happens, at least not yet. There's a backstage interview where Styles is interrupted by Karrion Kross, and Karrion says, you should have used the brass knucks at WrestleMania. But Styles says he doesn't want to go back to being that guy he was a year ago, and Karrion says, okay, maybe I'll solve this problem myself then.
A year ago and be that guy? I don't know why you want to seem so bad, because I hated the person I saw in the mirror.
And I'm not gonna lie, I'm slowly starting to like Karrion Kross again. Like, he's still a little bit washed, but he's kind of entertaining as well.
I'm not the one who tapped out.
Oh my gosh. But next we saw a very angry Gunther who confronts the commentators after he lost the world championship, and he ends up going to choke out Michael Cole until Pat McAfee gets involved, and then he ends up getting choked out too. Oh my gosh. Gunther said, fuck them commentators. We then see a backstage segment where Pat goes to the trainer's room, I assume to upgrade his attributes, and Michael Cole says, hell no, I'm not taking the night off. I'm not giving in to no bully.
Take the rest of the night off, okay? Take it off.
I am not going to let some bully not allow me to do my job on WrestleMania.
Genuinely, all those years of don't be a bully, be a star. And that right there is what is going to get me to stop bullying. Also, Gunther, you better chill. Michael finna suit up in the orange again and tap you out with the Ann Cole lock. And I would also go ahead and assume that Jey is going to face Gunther again. Obviously, he's got a rematch clause there. And so that makes me think maybe they're going to go ahead and run Gunther versus Jey World Heavyweight Championship as a Raw main event, get the rematch out of the way, and then Gunther goes off to face Pat because Pat's going to come back in the meantime. And then maybe you go somewhere else with Jey. Jey gets a new challenger. Maybe it's going to be either Jimmy or Sami. I can see that happening first. There's something about Pat where you just know he's gonna mesh well with some people, and Gunther is one of those guys in my opinion, in a similar way to how well he meshed with Adam Cole.
Penta's got momentum and he's cooking.
Whoa, hang on a minute. What?
He's cooking here,
DJ soundboard sound effect?
He's cooking here.
But the main event was Penta against Dirty Dom for the IC title, and it slapped. And after a banger, the match eventually comes to an end, seeing the return of JD McDonough into a 619 and a frog splash to retain the title.
What in the world? That's JD McDonough! Frog splash! First title defense!
And I'm very happy to see Big Head Mode back because that injury was terrifying, so I'm glad that he's back and he's doing okay. It was then time for Seth freaking Rollins to speak for the first time since aligning with Paul Heyman. But before Seth can really say anything, here comes CM Punk to brawl with Seth Rollins. He ends up clawing Punk in the eyes before he can beat the bricks off Heyman and stomps Punk into the ground. Then Heyman says there is a new, undisputed #1 top star in this industry. But just when you think things are over, because yes, we see the credits rolling, it was time for the OTC to make his presence known.
The tribal chief is here too.
He Superman punches the Wise Man, and then just before he can hit that spear...
Oh my God! That was a human missile intercept! Braun breaker!
Holy sh**, Bron Breakker is also a Paul Heyman guy. Insane. Then he spears Roman through the barricade and Rollins stomps Punk and Reigns again.
For spear, 23 miles an hour, right through timekeeper.
Over the last couple of years, I feel like we've lost that Raw after Mania vibe, but this one really restored the feeling and it was a lot of fun.